what. The Lord pulled me in when I was young. I started going to church when I was probably about 8 or 9. Grew up in the Catholic Church. Did CCD, Sunday school, First Communion, the whole bit. Got baptized into the Catholic Church, but really kind of largely felt God just absent from that church. And this is probably mostly on me in my lack of understanding of the gospel. As I grew up, I found some friends in high school who attended a local Assemblies of God church. They invited me, and they were my best friends, and we were really kind of inseparable, so I just started going to church with them. And that's really where I feel like I heard the voice of God the first time that I felt Him drawing me to Himself. But like most high school kids without a firm foundation to stand on, when I left for college, I largely backslid. I stepped back and really almost started deconstructing my faith in many ways, because there's a lot of convincing people who can give you a lot of convincing arguments about why atheism must be true, or why there couldn't be a good and just and loving God who exists. So I fell into the science of it, how could God possibly exist? And I lived there for a long time. I wouldn't openly say that I didn't believe in God to anybody, but in my head I was falling out. I was falling back, and it kind of scared me. It scared me a lot. So I got married, and that marriage was not Christ-centered, and it ended in divorce. And I largely hold myself responsible in a lot of ways. And the year that I got divorced is when I started deconstructing the most. I was living a debauched life, was partying every weekend, was eschewing a lot of my adult responsibilities, and thinking, when I was growing up, I was always the nice guy. In my high school yearbook, I was the nicest guy in the class. That was my superlative. So I would just think to myself, God, I'm a good person. People like me. God, I do good by people. Why is my life so hard? Why is my marriage failing? Why is my life gone sideways? And I got angry and I started railing at God. Without the full realization of how He was working and how He was moving in my life. God let me backslide for a summer. I made some mistakes, and it largely drew me back into Him closer. Because that summer is the summer that I met my wife, and I met her doing what I was doing that summer. I was on the pier drinking, being generally not a good person, and she knew it. So I introduced myself, and she knew exactly what I was doing. She wanted nothing to do with me. But by the grace of God, I worked with her cousin at the correctional center, and we ended up meeting. So we ended up going on a date at the end of that summer. And Molly was different because she knew my game. She knew my game. And she told me, if you want to continue this relationship, I'm going to be the only person you're seeing. Because she knew. So I had been seeing somebody else, and that day in my car, I prayed to God for the first time in I don't know how long. But I prayed because why wouldn't I be praying? My life at this point is just about as close to rock bottom as I'm going to get. So I prayed, and I said, God, is this for me? I know what I want to do personally. I want to keep enjoying the sins of my flesh. I want to keep enjoying the carnal pleasures. I want to keep drinking. I want to living life my way. But that's largely not been working out up until this point. So that's when I said, Lord, this decision is yours. And that's when I started accepting the lordship of Christ. That's the moment in time where I believe the switch flipped for me. And it was much more about, Lord, how can you use me? How can I submit to your will? And that's how I came to my faith walk as it is today. We're now probably 5 years removed, 5 or 6 years removed from that moment. But that is the moment that Christ drew me back to himself. It was about 2 years ago now. I had just gone through a really kind of intense custody ordeal. It was very emotional. And I remember it had finished that day, and we got the result that we wanted. We got to do it's as close to 50-50 custody with my son as we could possibly get. But it had been a long, drawn-out battle. It cost us a lot of money, and it cost us a really big toll emotionally. And after we got off the court call, I felt deflated, and I started sobbing. And I don't even really know why I started sobbing, but I was emotional. I was distraught. I didn't know what to do. I had just been given everything that I wanted, basically, and still didn't really know what to do with it. But I was just crying. I had so much frustration. I started punching our brick hearth. And it was at that exact moment I felt my phone vibrate, and I had a text message, and I looked up, and it was an old men's group, and it was my friend Chad, and he was saying, "This guys I hadn't talked to in a year, at least 6 months," and it was Chad saying, "Hey, how can I pray for you?" Was that a miracle? I would say yes. I would say that was absolutely God using Chad to speak to me in a hard moment. Last year, my wife, she had some troubling scans, we'll say that. She had a raised, I think it's called a semi-diaphragm that came up on a CT scan. She was losing weight dramatically, very, very quickly. My wife is not a big person, but she was really struggling to keep weight on. We didn't know what was going on with her health. So we were really leaning on God in that season, because this was coming right out of COVID. We got that bad scan, and the panic just kind of set in, as it does when you feel like you are on the verge of losing something very, very dear to you. So we prayed. This is over the course of a couple of months now. But that first scan came back, and any of the possible prognoses were not good. It's either cancer or a really bad infection. Either way, the outlook isn't so great. So we had another scan scheduled, and in the meantime, we went to the elders of our church, and we had Molly prayed over and anointed with oil. We go to the next scan, which is a more directed and specific scan, and to the glory of God, there is nothing there. There hasn't been an issue since. So has God spoken to me directly? In so many words, I would say yes. I would say that he has absolutely used his people to speak to me. And I would say that he has absolutely demonstrated his power and sovereignty in my life. Jesus loves you. That's all there is to it. You can do all the good works in the world, but it doesn't get you to heaven, guys. It's Jesus and his finished work on the cross that gets us there.